Today in the Australian society, Australian people are granted the right to decide which people to vote into Parliament. Compulsory voting was first advocated by Alfred Deakin in 1924, July.
Electors are given a number of ways to cast their vote at an election, including postal voting, pre-poll voting, absent voting, and much more.
This is an example of preferential voting. Everyone 18 years and over must vote. If not, a fine will be given.
Because of the secrecy of the ballot, it is not possible to determine whether a person has completed their ballot paper prior to placing it in the ballot box. This is how people vote nowadays.
In the 1925 election, voting rose from 57.9% to 91.3%.
Preferential voting is an excellent representation of what the public wants.
This is also known as democracy. Hey, buddy. This is a map of the countries that have compulsory voting. If a person does not vote, they may be fined. This made our nation become more developed and fair. This made our government system fair and more democratic.
In 1901, voting wasn't compulsory, and people only voted if they really wanted to. One of the earliest compulsory votes was in 1916, when the government held 2 votes for conscription. Both times, the Australian population voted against it. There are many advantages of compulsory voting, including the way voters have more power in electing their preferred candidate, and it can enforce political education. When it was decided to find a capital city for Australia, 40 districts were chosen, 23 were surveyed, and it was then narrowed down to 7. They were chosen according to their water supply, climate, and landforms. In 1911, an international competition was launched for the design of Australia's next capital city. It was won by an American landscape architect from Chicago named Walter Burley Griffin. And this was his plan of Canberra. Canberra was formally named in 1913 and comes from an Aboriginal language meaning meeting place. While building Canberra, progress was greatly slowed by World War I and a lack of money. The suburbs of Canberra were named after significant Australian people and events, like Barton, the first Australian Prime Minister. Now known as Old Parliament House, the Provisional Parliament House was opened in 1927, and Dame Nellie Nelber sung God Save the King. She is now found on the $100 bill. In a 1913 Borough Record newspaper, it said, "It is hoped to be Commonwealth capital city will eventually become one of the most beautiful cities in the world." Canberra is now home to many important Australian places, including the Australian War Memorial, the National Library, and most importantly, Parliament House, the centre of politics for Australia. Also many exciting features about Canberra, including Questacon, the Black Mountain Tower, and the Captain Cook waterspout, sitting in the middle of Lake Burley Griffin.